Welcome, everyone. I am super excited. This is your host, Elizabeth Spade. Let me know if you like that name. Should I go with Elizabeth Spade or should I go with Roberta Spade or Miss Bird? Tell me which one you like, you think you resonate with the most. Hey, guys, look, this is the Cornerstone Voice, and I want you to check out a previous recording about trauma. And I talked about my traumatic experience and when I got that aha moment about, hey, I'm living in a traumatic experience, which has caused me to spiral in a lot of parts of my relationship. So today we got an expert, and I am so excited to have her here, guys. She is from Alexandria. I've seen her grow up to be a beautiful woman. Yes, you know how I do, guys. You know I'm just off the chain. Dr. Lenese Stephnes, welcome to the Cornerstone Voice.
So much for having me. Thank you for having this platform. For that great introduction. Yes, it's like
I'm just getting warmed up because baby girl has been putting in the work, y'all. She's putting in the work. She's gotten some awards. Let me pull, award. She's award-winning Counseling of the Year. She's been recognized by Top 40 Under 40 by the Black Excellence Awards, featuring Essence.com. She spoke about mental health during the COVID, and we're not out of it yet. She has started her own center, Hopeful Counseling. Look, baby girl is doing it. She's making a change. She is reaching out and helping others to change their life. And I thought, what better way to bring on an expert whose background is counseling psychology to talk about trauma. And today our topic is trauma, the Black experience, because we as Black people do not deal with things like other cultures. So here at the Cornerstone, that's what we do. We bring in topics and conversation to help expand your thinking, to make a change in your life, in the Black community, one person at a time. So welcome, Dr. Stephnes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So let's talk about. Never mind me and my cup. Never mind me and my cup. Never mind me and my cup. But let me just ask you, what is trauma?
Okay, so overall, trauma is emotional response to an incident that is out of our control or out of our expectation. And previously we've grown to know trauma is within the concepts of, car accidents or war, experiencing war. Trauma was really highly linked only with veterans, military. And so over time, there has been a brand awareness and awakening to know that individuals who are not within those elements, who have endured car accidents or witnessed death or medical emergencies, that trauma can happen amongst all levels, mentally, physically, emotionally, as well as sexually. And so it's more so how the brain adapts to the incidents that goes against the normalcy or the baseline of how we interact and develop interpersonal relationships with people.
Now, I'm sure you counsel many different cultural background, but for African American, we've always learned to not talk about our experience. As growing up, my parents would always say, "What goes on in this house stays on this house," or if something traumatic happens, we never talk about it. Like when I had got raped. My parents never talked about it. After went through the situation, it was like, okay, we're not talking about it. It happened. We're going to move on, kind of thing. And even though that's something big, but what I want the audience to realize also, it could be something that we think minutely, and then it's just definitely not going to bother them because I said that. I gave the example of me coming in, winning, four gold medals from a track meet, happy, excited, and I walked in the door and I see my dad and I was like, Dad, look, I got 4 gold medals. This is in the regional. And he just looked and was like, oh, you must have ran against some bums. That was a traumatic experience for me. And for a long time, I carried that with me, always thinking I was never good enough. And everything that I did, I always was trying, no matter what I put together. It could be a beautiful conference, and people would say, oh, that was such a great conference. And I'm thinking, that wasn't good enough. That's not good enough. And that was my aha moment when I was talking to a friend of mine. Again, you guys can go replay that segment, my experience about trauma. You can replay that. But that was one of my experience in my life that played a big role into just a couple of months ago when I realized that I had to stop doing, beating myself up, thinking everything I was doing wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And the biggest piece that we are learning now, and I do believe mental health awareness and education has really come to the forefront of the medical world due to COVID. Behavioral health have been the number one sought after medical providers for 2020 and 2021. And that goes to speak of the emotional health that people have neglected or overlooked or utilized alternative resources to cope with and to deal with or self-soothe. And so when we're looking at development, emotional health is one that gets really overlooked. And so when you have experiences like the one you just shared of having you share accolade with someone and it's just minimized or dismissed, that's just the planting of a negative belief that you begin to carry around with yourself. And that is the effects of what trauma basically is. It's the negative beliefs that come out or get birthed out of experiences and not really knowing how to recuperate or emotionally express yourself so that you can get back to a normal sense of understanding and development. And so whenever I teach or I do any type of psychoeducational platforms, I always think to include emotional health. Because think about it, when a kid is growing, you want to make sure the kid is height, their age is according to their height, their weight, and they're cognitively producing on their age level. But what about the emotional piece? Are they able to express how they're feeling? Are they able to self-soothe in a way without having to use external factors as drugs or alcohol once they get older, or inappropriately depend upon shopping habits or food habits to self-soothe any type of emotional pain. And so when I bring that to the surface, and I do a lot of mind-body connections when I teach, when I counsel, because that is the essence and the core of how we really get to what we tell ourselves and what we believe and and that those negative beliefs that we tell ourselves is how we end up creating those maladaptive behaviors that we get to demonstrate to others in our community, in our family, in our relationships, in our work environment. And so when we have this dynamic set up, we have the emotional impact, and then we have the maladaptive behaviors birthed out of it. Those are all signals of trauma.
Now, how do we recognize trauma? I mean, for me, it took until now to understand that it was a traumatic experience, even though I didn't make the connection that it was a traumatic experience until recently, because you think about the periods of generations and generations and generations who have experienced some kind of a trauma, giving up for adoption, or like I said, car accident, or mental abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse. We know about that because we can see those things. But settle things, I don't want to call it settle, but we don't categorize that as traumatic. And so how do we start to understand? What would you tell one of your clients? What would you say, hearing that? How could you let them know that that was a traumatic experience, for them to accept that was a traumatic experience?
That's a good question, because educating and identifying trauma is really difficult outside of the major, and I don't want to say major instances like sexual abuse, physical abuse, or neglect. But anything that is out, that is, how can I say this and effectively say this? Anything that takes a person out of, that it supports it and allows for hypervigilance to be a primary go-to. Constantly looking for safety exits, constantly looking for safety measures, constantly looking at or questioning, am I safe, am I okay? When you lose that grounding feature, feeling secure, that's what we want to do. When you're losing that security feeling, feeling being able to identify areas that I know I'm secure in my home. This is my safe space. Right. I know I'm safe with these individuals. When that is absent, those are true indicators of being able to identify and to go further in exploring what were relationships like with this individual. Who created a lot of stress or disturbance for this individual. And so when you start to gather that information, those are the beginnings of being able to educate an individual about trauma.
Yeah, so when you think of my parents, my grandparents, their parents, their experience of life, coming from slavery, coming from segregation, those were traumatic experiences. We talk about them in ways, but a lot of time our parents or grandparents never dealt with or spoke about the deep hurt or whatever they felt during those times. And so I think that kind of curves the behavior of, their thinking, their upbringing, and how they from generation to generation to generation. Like I said, my parents always said, what goes on in this house stays in this house. And we will not talk about what happened. We will not deal with, that issue. We're just going to move on, kind of thing. And have you experienced that with working with some of your clients? Like they haven't, the kind of generation kind of thing going on.
Here's the gift. I like to say a gift in the person, but more so the biggest gift that our generation, well, the younger generation as well as my generation, has to offer collectively is that we're talking about our emotions. We're talking about stress. We're talking about, okay, I need to step away because I need to protect my mental health being, my mental health capabilities. We're talking about it more. We have those generational differences. This is where some discord comes in regards to how older generations used to deal with things versus how the generations are dealing with it now. And so we're seeing a lot of pushback and saying, okay, I'm going to let go of the patterns that have been generationally passed down just to bear down, push through, you'll be strong, and you keep it moving. And the thing about black people, when we hear black Americans, when we hear, especially black women, you're strong.
Ooh.
I don't worry about.
I do not like that word.
Here's the issue with that. Yes, thank you for highlighting that I do have internal strength and resilience. and the get up and go to go and achieve what I want. At the same time, we also have to look at the negative connotation attached to that. When we tell somebody that they're strong, oh, so you're telling me I don't need anything. You're telling me that I don't need to be checked on, that I don't need a hug, or I don't need to feel safe, because PC is the strength. And so, we really have to. And we're beginning to demystify that whole strong statement, and I hear it all the time. Elizabeth Roberta, I hear it. Lenese, you're strong. And I say thank you, but also there are days when I'm not strong. So please don't assume that I don't need anything.
Right. You're absolutely right. And I would always cringe when I hear, oh, you're a strong black woman. You're a strong black woman. I'm like, who's going to counsel the counselor? Because, I went through a point of being depressed for years after my mom passed, for years. Oh, you strong. You will get through it. It gets better. No. Somebody need to hear my pain. I'm in pain here. I am hurting. My cord has been severed.
And here's the thing about that, of having that emotional pain. When it's trapped within us, we're not communicating it, we're not releasing it, we're not appropriately managing it, dealing with it, releasing it, changing those negative beliefs. That is the all-encompassing of trauma. Allow the situation to really shake and change the essence of my being. No longer am I looking at experiencing emotions on a spectrum. I'm now operating in this small zone of emotions, and it's probably like 3 or 4: angry, sad, and mad, or anxious. So that little bit zone. But if I'm in a position to really be explorative of what I'm dealing with and what is happening and coming up in my body, and knowing where the disturbances and pleasures are feeling, yes, I get to have that emotional flexibility, and this is how I begin to change those maladaptive behaviors that were birthed out of trauma to now be more emotionally healthy. And this is why a lot of mental health providers are in this, because they know that it can be changed. It's just a matter of, I'm going to need you to understand this. It's not going to happen overnight. And it's going to require some times where you're going to have to be okay being comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's what, if you know anything about our people, we don't want to be uncomfortable. We've had being uncomfortable. I want to be on easy street. Nothing wrong with that. You deserve it. But at the same time, there's areas in our personal development that I'm going to have to be uncomfortable for a bit until I work through this, until I get through this, explore it, get all the clarity behind it, so I can understand it and change the beliefs that I tell myself, to really engage with, okay, how do I identify with outside of my trauma? Who am I?
Great.
And that is a big piece of a lot of the women that I work with, as well as men. They're emerging a new identity, because for so long they've lived under the shadows of their emotional hurt, their physical pain, sexual abuse, neglect. And so when doing the mental health work, the emotional work, it allows for a new identity to be birthed, and it feels good, and it's that's
it's a freedom. It's like the weight has been lifted. I know once I recognize where my self-sabotage of starting something, letting it go, getting praise and thinking, oh, that's not good enough, getting rid of it, starting something else, oh, this is doing great, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is doing so great, and I'm like, feeling uncomfortable when I get compliments, feeling uncomfortable when I get awards, like, did I really deserve this community award? Did I really, what I'm saying? Always doubting myself. So when I finally hit that aha moment, it was whoa, the light just came on, and I walked towards the light. And no matter, how things, unfolds, I know that I've given all that I could during that process, and I accept the compliment, and I don't cringe. You know what I mean? So I know that is a huge part in my life of me walking towards the light and understanding that this is what I created, and it is good. I've given my all, you know what I mean? And I've been able to accept the compliments now without cringing and like, oh, what they're really thinking, always second guessing what someone said to me. They really think that was good, or they're just saying that it was good, kind of thing. So I think those are things that we hold on to it, and once we release it, like I said, a new me came through. A bolder me came through.
And so, like I said, creating, emerging into a new identity, or creating your new identity, outside of trauma experiences, and learning that it's not a what's wrong with me mentality. This is what's happened to me. That's just one piece of me. And so, able to recreate the identity or assist people with recreating their identity, it is very rewarding to see. But also, knowing, like I said, you have a lot of persons of color that have elected to enter into mental health or behavioral health therapy, which is, we want that. We want to be mentally healthy. We want them to have, healthy self-care practices. We want them to learn how to alleviate stress. Always teach stress follows mood, and mood follows stress. So if I can manage how my stress levels are, or look at ways how to separate myself from my stress, then I'm also supporting my mood. But to take that even a step further, making sure that you're effectively working with a licensed therapist that is knowing of how to help a client alleviate their symptoms connected with trauma. And so this is where you get a lot of therapists who have their, certifications in specific trainings. Like I am a EMDR therapist, which is called eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It basically helps individuals to reprocess the negative beliefs, the feelings attached to it. It helps all of that stuff to get up and get out. Because what we have been taught, you stuff it away, you forget about it, and you keep it moving. What do you think?
But we really haven't stuffed it away. It's really showing up in our daily life. We think we have stuffed it away and we dealt with it, but we really haven't. And it shows up in our daily life. So
EMDR helps to really allow those uncomfortable feelings to come up and to experience it and to let it go. Mm-hmm. And one thing I tell my clients when they are going through EMDR sessions with me, I say, you make it sound like this feeling is going to last forever. And part of that is true, because this feeling has lasted since that incident happened up until now. But actually, I can let it go. If I really let it come up and come to the surface and feel it in my body, I can let that go.
Uh-oh, you're frozen. Okay, you're frozen.
Can you hear me?
Uh-oh, what happened?
Can you hear
Stephnes?
me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't see you anymore.
Well, I'll keep talking.
Okay.
Like I was saying, working with therapists who have specific trainings that can help individuals alleviate the effects of trauma is what you want. You want to be in a position like that, so that the quality of living can definitely be enhanced.
Yeah, so, I always tell myself, and I would tell my kids, everything has an expiration date. And I never, when I was younger, the joy come in the morning, I really thought like the next day everything's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be okay.
Y'all did.
You know, however, oh, there you go. However, it was, I guess, it should have been explained to me as a young kid that it does get better, but there is an expiration date. So today is a new day to deal with it or not deal with it. And I learned for me to maintain when I start to feel stressful or get antsy or anxiety, I take a step back and I breathe and I tell myself, is this something that I can control? Is this in my control?
Yeah.
If it's not in my control, let it go. And that has worked wonders for me. Because I used to always try to, hold on and take it personal. It's not about me all the time.
And the control is a big piece in regards to trauma because you've been in situations where you have experienced loss of control. And so everything after that is, I got to make sure I maintain control because I know what it feels like to lose control. So I don't want to go back there again. And so being able to identify the differences and to find a middle ground, I always tell people, you make it sound like both outcomes can't be true. And that is a big thing that happens cognitively where the one outcome is the only outcome, so I have to work towards that. I have to live up to that. I have to keep that going. I have to maintain it. But at the same time, okay, well, there's another outcome that also exists, and that is an option. And having both of those as options definitely can alleviate the stress attached with a lot of trauma experience.
I realized that I didn't have to keep reliving it. And a lot of times I think with people who experience trauma, until we recognize that whatever it is was a traumatic experience, we keep reliving it. And once you recognize that was a traumatic experience, that breakup was a traumatic experience for me, that loss of a parent was a traumatic experience for me, we accept that it was traumatic, but we don't have to live in it.
It does make sense. And what you're more so talking about is how adjusting comes into place and adjustment. We all are in a state of adjustment. We just came out of one. Well, we're still in one for 2020, but adjusting to COVID. That was going into it. That was a huge adjustment. I didn't know. People didn't know. Oh my God, how I'm gonna get my kids to school? I'm gonna teach and work from home at the same time. Once we got our groove going, now we're getting ready to come back out of it. Oh my God, now my kids going back to school. I got to go back to work. Adjustment. So how do I healthily deal with these changes that are out of my control? And giving that, I always like to use the concept of loss and grief because that's really big in how, within our culture, of how we have chosen to deal with loss and grief. And the typical response is you bear down, you push through it, and you know the person's in a better place, and you go back to the ways of living. That's not how you deal with loss and grief.
Right. Yeah.
Of losing a loved one. The loss is a one-time thing. I've lost this person, and I'm not going to lose them again. But that's the one-time thing. But how I adjust to that change is the grieving process. There could be days where I'm okay with it. There's days I'm going to be okay with it. There's days that I can choose to address it. There's days I can say I can choose to put this on hold for another time. But there's an awareness and an education that's happening to let people know about the grieving process and how it's an exploration of emotion that we're trying to recalibrate from this drastic change that has happened out of our control. And so it's like, what is life like after this change has happened? And so that is, I mean, that's the most equivalent I can get to explaining and helping someone understand trauma, especially when they have when they're not knowing if they have had trauma experiences.
Yes. Well, would you say that everyone has experienced some traumatic experience in life?
I wouldn't say everyone has experienced some level of trauma, but it's a spectrum. One end can be adjustment, the other end can be trauma. We all are in a state of change. We all have experienced changes in friendships, relationships, death of loved ones, emotional changes. But trauma is more of the extent that this has really recalibrated my emotional response to situations. So we all start out in adjustment. We all do. Some of us have gone to the other end and lived in trauma or traumatic experiences. Whereas though others may not have. So it's wouldn't do a blanket statement saying that everyone has gone through trauma, but we all are in a state of change and adjustment.
Yes, change. And change can be traumatic for people who don't like change at all. I knew one person that had been on the job for years, and anytime they introduced something new, like new phone system or new software system, she would be like, "Oh, I don't like it. Ah." She would just have a fit because she did not like change. As long as everything stayed the same, stayed smooth, she felt calm and in control. But as soon as things had to change, she felt out of control, anxiety went up, and it was a big thing.
To being uncomfortable. I don't want to be. I don't want to feel uncomfortable. I don't everything to say smooth. I can see. I know what's going on. I don't want to feel uncomfortable. And so you're right. When people who do have difficulty with change, it's I don't want to face the uncomfortableness that the change brings.
Yes. So let's look at it. Look at the spectrum of the Black community. And I know you talked about earlier where you talked about the younger generation now are reaching out and getting the mental help that they need. Are there I don't want to say wide, but are there more African American women and men getting into the field of counseling, psychology now as well?
There's always been a large number of people of color, African Americans, within the counseling field and career field. What I am seeing now is that African American men are entering into this profession and really taking their stance in regards to bringing opening up the doors and making it comfortable for Black men to enter into therapy. I think for a long time, from my experiences and my career exposure, for a long time, the limited amount of therapy contact was limited to men in jail or prisons or the incarcerated population, because you have behavioral health therapists now in those locations. That's the primary contact for mental health support. Or if you're in a marriage or a relationship, the partner, you got to go to couples counseling. And so those are the two, I'm not going to say the only two, but those are the two major areas that I've seen where an influx of consistent male therapy contact has been happening. But I know that over the past probably 5 years and seeing more of African American men in the field has definitely made it comfortable and okay for more Black men to enter into counseling relationships, to talk about the stress that men carry, especially Black men, the stress that Black men carry on a daily basis, that Black women, yes, we understand it, but we can't relate to it. To see those relationships be developed therapeutically, this is definitely a big win and a big push for our overall culture.
Yeah, I think just watching my youngest son, he's, like I said, he's in grad school, he's playing football and everything, and he was like, I need someone to talk to. Is there do your insurance offer counseling? I was like, yes, they do. Here's the information kind of thing. Well, it's funny because ironically, my husband's like, "You're going to talk to somebody about your feelings?" kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. With him, I got to really pride because he was brought up in that era. Men don't talk about their feelings. You don't express your feelings kind of thing. And so my son is like, yeah, give me the information kind of thing. One being that he's a football player. They already black male football player. They already have a written category as him being aggressive and all that stuff. So, one of the things that I definitely recommend is for our young kids to talk to someone, so they can express. And although that our communication is open with our children, sometimes it's best that they talk to someone else who doesn't have that, other opinion as a parent. It's kind of hard to pull away from being a parent to being a counselor that can provide the guidance and to be able to listen openly without interfering, interjection.
No judgment, absent of judgment, subjectivity. Yeah. So, and like I said, this generation that we have now is pushing for that. Pushing to be heard, absent of judgment, absent of preconceived ways of being, because that's how generational patterns are passed down. This preconceived way of how I'm supposed to act and how I'm supposed to behave and how I'm supposed to look, or how I'm supposed to encounter people, or how I'm supposed to dress nice when I leave the house, but don't you say what's going on in this house. When you leave this house, you dress, you act right, and you say yes ma'am and no ma'am. So they're pushing against those preconceived patterns that don't serve us, that don't serve a good purpose for this generation.
Yes. Do you see that kind of thinking more is brought up from the African American culture than other cultures that you dealt with? Or
I yes and no. Again, I can only speak from my culture because I've been an African American woman for 42 years, so I could. But at the same time, every culture and every family has it's rooted in their moral development. And so, if out of my morals that are being passed down to me, it's going to be some preconceived notions of how I'm supposed to be as a person of color, a woman of color, how I'm supposed to be as a white woman or a Hispanic woman. Those are all things that are wrapped within the morals and values of a culture that do get passed down. What I'm seeing now is that you have, again, this generation is looking at, okay, what's of value to me to keep and what's again, not going to serve me a good purpose. So I want to keep that my parents have taught me, are educating me about, are displaying and demonstrating. What aspects of that do I want to carry on moving forward for myself? And then what aspects do I want to say I want to leave that with them? I don't want to carry on preconceived notions. I don't want to carry on mannerisms that, again, hinder me instead of helping me to develop.
Now, do you find that people who are African American struggle when they come to see a therapist because it's a conflict, a contradiction to what they learn or being taught or so forth, and they can't even get past that part to get to the root?
I see it all the time. I see it within the practice all the time, and it's like, okay, what brings us here? What brings us to work together? And it's like, I don't know why I'm here. I just know I need to be here. Okay. Well, let's just explore some areas of life, and once you really start tapping and asking those explorable questions, you get a lot of information, and you're able to put the pieces together for them, and to be able to get back, well, the picture that I'm seeing here. And once you're able to put the pieces together for my clients or the clients that I work with, that allows you've given them permission to be able to start discussing how they feel about those different life stressors, like markers, experiences that they've had. So it's okay to talk about these things, and you have to remind them, but also in a sense to inadvertently or indirectly give them the permission to be okay to talk about these things.
Now, what would you say to the woman who keeps piling on stuff on their back? They keep taking on. They got, children and church and work and all of this stuff of life that they carry. They are caregivers to their parents and so forth, and they're carrying all this stuff, and they're the strong black woman. They're the strong black woman. They're going to school. They're getting educated. They're doing this and they're doing that. What would you tell them to do as far as breaking loose of that title, strong black woman?
So first, any licensed therapist, we don't tell people what to do. So technically, I'm not going to tell them what to do. And number two, there's really not a direct message to send. It's more so about observation. And one outcome can mean the person's just not ready. If they're continually perpetuating these patterns, and it's kind of like spinning wheels. If you're continually doing these things, but you're saying you want different outcomes, the reality is you're not ready. That's one outcome. Another outcome is to meet your clients. We all learn this in our educational studies. You meet your clients where they are. If this is the presentation that you're showing me, well then I need to work within that until I see an opportunity
to redirect you.
So it's not a one statement thing that you could say. It's different outcomes and approaches that we see on a continuum. That's I'm not going to say the typical client, but that is the majority of a common client that we work with.
Mm-hmm. Now, for men, do you feel men are, I don't want to say the hardest, but I don't even want to say difficult, but have, what is the word I'm looking for? To be able to release, to be able to be open about whatever issues in their life, in the black community. Like you said, we know that the black man has so much on their shoulders, right?
It can present with complications. It can be some complications with men entering into therapy, but again, men are starting to make this the norm in regards to their health. For so long, there was a big push to get black men to go get physicals on a regular basis, to go to their care.
Yes.
Or to go get their eyes checked or their teeth checked or whatever checked. To now know that they're adding on to that to improve their overall mental well-being. It can create with some challenges. Number one, the gender differences. You have there's a large amount of women that are licensed therapists. That can be looked at as threatening or intimidating, because how can you relate to me when there's this gender difference? It does have its challenges when you also include sexual orientation. That can create a challenge. Again, I got a gender difference on top of now we have a different sexual orientation. So it can be challenging. but understanding to trust the process and stay with it. That's what a lot of men are starting to rely on and to depend on, knowing that if I trust the process, the outcome that I want for myself will be attained.
So our time is winding down, and so I want you to let everyone know about your hopeful counseling, and where they can get help, whether it's through you or through someone else.
Yeah, so hopefulcounseling.org is the website. Hopeful Counseling, we are a Black-owned licensed therapist practice, and right now we're offering all telehealth services given our current health pandemic. So that has been a big stress reliever for a lot of people that still want to continue with any type of behavioral health, and also people who are looking to connect with behavioral health therapists. It's been made a lot easier. So the website, hopefulcounseling.org, definitely has all information and emails, as well as our office number if people have questions or want to learn more. I conduct free consultations so people can ask the questions that they have, because entering into this arena, as with any medical specialty, you have questions. And sometimes when I do consultations, people say, well, I don't know where to start. I didn't know where to start. And I say, okay, well, what questions do you have? And so being able to offer that to people allows them to be able to develop resources. And that's one thing I always make sure, I don't look at every person coming on board for hopeful counseling. I just want to make sure we're a resource. If you have questions, you can definitely email me and ask me. We can schedule a consultation and point you in the right direction.
Yes, that's really important. If you don't feel that you are the fit for them, that at least you can provide them the resources where they can find someone else that could assist them in dealing to build a healthier mental health. So for me, it's mental, mind, body, and spirit. If your mental is not right, the rest will crumble. The rest will crumble for sure. So thank you, Dr. Stephens, for your time as we talked about our traumatic experience in the Black community. I appreciate your time. And I'll make sure I put your information in the description so folks can find you. So thank you so very much. And have a great evening.
Be safe and thank you for this.
This is Roberta Spate, a.k.a. Miss Birds, signing off the Cornerstone Voice. And before I go, I do want to talk about my new book, Give Thanks and Praise, 120 Days Gratitude Journal. You can pick this up on Amazon. Can you see it? Amazon. You can pick this up on Amazon. It's a great journal with prompts. You absolutely love this, and it will change the way you view things and open up doors for you for blessings and provide you a great habit of giving gratitude each and every day. So pick this up at Amazon. All right, guys. This is Elizabeth Spate from the Cornerstone Voice, where you matter. And I'll see you in the next episode.